So funny, I didn't recognize myself sitting here. I had just recorded the video about the mantras, and I thought this was a still from that one. And that's a good example of what the mythology and symbolism do. That's what I'm talking about. Mythology on the mat. 5 minutes of incorporating symbolism and mythology into a yoga class. Ultimately, the myths, the mythology, all boils down in yoga to that which is portrayed in the Bhagavad Gita, which is basically I am responsible for the effort and action, but I am not responsible for the outcome. I'm not to attach to expectations. And that is when yoga starts to work. Now, the best story, and I don't know all of the stories, is the cowherd, also known as Krishna, who showed us his magnificence as long as we could detach from what we thought he was about. There's also Shiva, who's known as the Lord of Yoga. Now, I think in these stories, yoga is not necessarily referring to the body postures that we talk about for the most part, but what is Shiva was until recently referred to as the destroyer. He destroys our concepts so that we can be free of them. He also, and that's because Maya, which is illusion, is something that we all see as a result of our own pre-existing ideas and attachment to those ideas and attachment to what we believe we see in the world. Well, the linguists went back to Sanskrit and realized that they had made a mistake. This also ties into that video about the mythologist who said the difference, but you can't. They're not congruent. Western concepts of linearity versus um, Hindu concepts of fuzziness. They're not completely congruent. We have to be able to balance both of them. Um, they realized that the misunderstanding about the nature of Shiva as the destroyer and Maya as the illusion had to do with um, Western concepts of one life and linear logic and so forth. Actually, Maya means construction, as in false construction. And Shiva's name is not so much the destroyer as much as the deconstructor. I have to say that Shiva the destroyer is a lot more poetic than catchy than Shiva the deconstructor. But I get the idea. Another tie-in here is the Kabbalah, which was a group of applied spiritual and religious principles amongst the Jews in Spain and Portugal, starting around the 1200, and it still exists. Some famous people participate in it. And the Kabbalah is to Judaism as yoga is to Hinduism. It's not a religion; it's a way of approaching our relationship to God. And I don't know if you've ever seen any videos of some of the Kabbalistic methods. It's mostly study, and they're able to name 37 ranks of angels and the same kind of thing that we do when we understand the progenitors, the lineages, and the names of the gods and goddesses, and as manifested in the poses. To use it, for instance, one of the things that I saw Kabbalists do in one of the video documentaries, they said that they use body motions, and the example that they gave was what we do in neck circles. When I'm in a yoga pose, the idea of using Patanjali's Ashtanga as a method of approaching the poses is that I'm going to be nonviolent with myself. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to have integrity in the pose. I'm going to use the great examples of brahmacharya, restraint, and also the mastery of teaching and walking with God, and then letting go. That's the non attachment. I'm clean. My thoughts are pure. I'm content. I'm using intensity because sometimes yoga is about staying in a pose after it seems I can't stay there anymore. Self study because I become aware of my own capacities and also my own limitations, which I'm trying to gently but firmly transcend, and then the God reliance. It's something bigger than me. And there again, the detachment. I'm not responsible for the outcome. A friend of mine a long time ago said, "You do what you do, you get what you get," and that's exactly the same thing. That is what Krishna was saying about being willing to fight the battle, but you're not responsible for the outcome. And Shiva is seeing it in terms of he is the Lord of yoga, the Lord of being able to sit quietly, meditate, be present, allow the mind, body, soul connection to be made one, which is yoga, and healed, which is the letting go. As far as the rest of the symbolism, well, every one of the poses does the same thing if we're aware of it. If I set my intention to be aware of the present, to, for instance, Stephanie gives a lecture about the drishtis. Well, the drishtis are single pointed concentration. One of the points of the Ashtanga, single pointed concentration. That allows us to let go. It allows us to meditate. And it allows us to transcend. Anyway, I deliberately chose not to use particular postures because really I think they all apply. And the mythology and symbolism, to use Joseph Campbell as a good example, it's more important to see the similarities in the myths, the individual myths, and also the myths between cultures and populations, eras, epochs in history, than it is to look for the differences. The God dwells in the details of the similarities. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'm enjoying these videos. Well, I'm not. I'm in a hotel room and I'm not exactly a video technician, so I hope you found this useful. Thank you.